To the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we are on these days, including Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch, which is Andrew J. Polk. Find us in any of those names, any of those places, and you'll, you've got us and can get in on the conversation that we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m., right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. So all those ways you can interact, all those ways you can tune in. Thank you for doing so as we continue our mission to have live local talk radio here in the borderland, because I think we deserve it. And being able to have that local conversation, you just can't beat it. Particularly when it comes to the diverse set of issues we got set up for you here today, and frankly through the rest of the week, as we also have Calvin Williams joining us over on the Facebook page primarily. I mean, I still consider the Facebook page one of the more main ones anyway. I mean, there's a lot of ways people can interact. We also got the pound 250 line, other online comments here, but that's the OG page. That's the Thunderdome of comments. That's where the Skeptics Society, or Squad, it's been requested to be called, lives there. So, that's what we'll get into it. So, the continuing saga, amongst other things, on my mind as we come in here on this Monday afternoon. It feels like we've already been through this year already, and that December should already be over, but we're only in the first full week here, which is feeling a little bit nuts because we've been dealing with some of these issues that we've talked about, including redistricting on my mind here, the increasing news, and depending on who you ask, excitement or dread about the New Mexico legalized marijuana situation, which there's an increasing amount of reporting going on about, including probably in the areas of more special reports coming out that I'm hearing about, so more focused on it. Big investment that I'll get into here in just a minute, but the one that is really just top of my mind, and ever since I brought it up, I feel like there's a name for the effect out there. I can't remember what it is offhand, but once you give a name to something, or once you label something, or once you articulate that you have noticed a particular trend or pattern, like, oh man, a lot of red cars out on the road there, you start seeing them everywhere because they are now specifically given notion and mention to the idea. The whole situation about what the heck is going on in town when it comes to specifically violent crime, and most specifically murders, I just can't stop noticing trends about it here, and particularly now as there's been an arrest announced, including over at our news partners at KFoxTV.com. They got the story right on their main page right now. Man arrested for murder of Southwest Airlines employee killed outside the airport. Now, this one, of course, being different than some of the other more impacting the community. I mean, this is horrifically impacting to that person, the victims' lives, all of that stuff here, but it's not quite to the level of when we've had shutdowns of various areas, even though this did cause issues at the airport itself, so frankly, it partially reached that kind of a level as well. But not the same kind of motivation is what's coming out here. I think there'll be more details in the news update at the bottom of the hour, but more specifically, it was a love triangle is going to be the way that investigators, I think, have kind of been describing it, and that's my paraphrasing, not theirs, but that there was romantic involvement with parties that were married with parties who were not married is the way I'm going to choose to describe that at this moment. But it still concerns me in a variety of ways that this is part of what I hope isn't a trend, but I've seen other people creating their lists of what we know about the homicides that have happened in the county, or at least the city limits, over this past year. And to my recollection, we're reaching levels that I think we're approaching 30 now, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that may include other fatalities as well, but the fact that you can count them on more than your hands and more than your toes at this point, that's a level beyond what I'm used to, anyway, having done the overnight, crime beat, car crashes, shooting, stabbings, murders beat for a few years there on overnight television news, and still paying attention to it now, even in this capacity. It's just, maybe I'm just paying more attention to it now that I have articulated it. But it still does definitely feel like something is going on. Now, not that there's some overarching, evil conspiracy. This isn't a comic book. This is real life. And the big difference there is real life doesn't have to have a nice, concise narrative to it. Random stuff can just happen, and we have to deal with it. And I think this is an aspect of it. Now, the whole lot of speculation has been coming from y'all, and myself included, to be perfectly honest, about what is driving some of this. As we also have Leroy Chuck joining us over on the Facebook page, and facebook.com/Talk El Paso. This, come think, I mean, there have been the other incidents that involved, at least again, a couple of drug deals gone wrong. This is a crime of passion, is what is increasingly being described as. And it all comes out with the overriding narrative in my mind is about pent upness. So there has been all this stuff that wasn't happening nearly as much. I mean, life didn't necessarily stop, but I mean, the past 2 years has seen a whole lot of stuff not happening that used to previously happen, right? Including just aspects of everyday life. So just the pent up nature of it. I mean, I probably spoke a little bit prematurely, unfortunately, when there was discussion about what was going on with national crime rates, and that El Paso had been, doing pretty well, that I was, kind of proud of the city overall here. Now, again, overall rates, this is a separate discussion here, but just these high-profile incidents impacting major things just seem to be, I'm just noticing them a lot more. So this is not scientific. This is not an aggregate. Hide your kids, hide your wife because there's a crime wave going on, but it's increasingly concerning to me. I have to fully and freely admit. Right, Chuck making a good comment about the whole pot situation there as well, which does impact in my mind, saying legalize all narcotics, then just tax them into morality. I do wonder about the confluence of that. I'm not even going to lie, because as we continue on, and as there is that increasing focus going on into, again, April of next year, it's already legalized at the more or less individual level. You can start growing it in a household, no more than a dozen or so. I might be mistaken, might be 7 or so. Don't live in New Mexico, so I haven't been investigating that on the personal level that much, or even if I did, I wouldn't be, most likely. It's met a lot of people doing that stuff in college, and I'm glad they had fun. Hope they had fun, because otherwise, why the hell would you do it? But it just was not for me. But, I mean, it does make me wonder about that. Michael Pato is casting a darker spirit on there, saying the democratic spirit of lawlessness leaves no place untouched here. I mean, I'm going to disagree with you on the fact of how El Paso has previously been, of the safest city in the country, but I do wonder about what's happening now and what will be going on with it. I mean, it concerns me as being a everyday resident going around and seeing these things. Heck, there was some incident that I need to actually follow up on that happened in front of our station over the weekend, where they had part of Mesa shut down and the crime scene investigation unit out with the big lights going on. So it's literally not quite hitting home, but work home hitting right next to here. So just all this stuff that goes on, and maybe I'm just paying more attention to, and so it's weighing more heavily on my mind. But I mean, just stay safe out there, everyone. Be careful as you go about your day, and maybe be a little bit extra kind, everyone, because even as we're coming out of the restrictions and the impacts that the restrictions had in place, I mean, we've been out of it for a while now, but of course, the whole economic situation and then the second order effects, nowhere near done with that. But really during this holiday season, keep the spirit of charity in your mind here, because you never know what anyone else is going through, and definitely stay safe there. Oh, Michael Pattis sharing what he thinks happened in front of our building here. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot to be attributed to it, and we're not going to get that anywhere near in one segment, much less many more. But yeah, that's weighing on my mind heavily here. So a little bit heavy for your Monday morning, or Monday afternoon rather. I'm sorry if that's bringing you down a little bit, but we got a lot more that we're talking about. Due for a break right now. Let's get into some of those other statewide subjects going on here. We do have redistricting challenges emerging, a little bit of audio on that, as well as, again, a little bit more into the New Mexico situation and the start I'm seeing, particularly when it comes to involving with pot here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break with more here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Being aware is an important part of dealing with a lot of these issues that we talk about here, whether it be political or just in everyday life. So something I do to facilitate that end for me, also get the boost of energy needing to get through this very important part of the day, and for yourself as well. I would highly recommend it, is Clever Tea. Drink it myself regularly and was excited to find them as a local company first off, but to stick with them, it's got to be quality. It's got to be something that I like and enjoy, and I definitely do. Clever Tea, Klever TEA is in the stuff that you drink. They are a locally made product here with a actually new facility that they are opening where you can go and get samples, try out things from their partner businesses, as well as over at 230 North Copia, just south of I-10 on Copia. And it's good stuff. Their Oolong Wise blend is their OG, and one that I definitely like and appreciate because it gives me, again, those benefits that I like. Plus, it's a great tea blend of oolong tea, coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthorn berry, and cinnamon. Plus, again, just getting the focus, getting the energy without the jitteriness is important as heck to me. And if you want to place your own order, you can do so by going online to their website, clevertea.com. Again, KLEVRTEA.com. And with your next order, place the code radio15 in at checkout and get a discount out of your next order. So support local, drink local, get the boost you need for your day, keep you on track with whatever your goals are, clevertea.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking El Paso traffic, got an accident to report. Frederick at Welch, east of Paisano and south of the 10. An accident in that area slowing traffic. Accident at Montwood, right at Estrada Drive, affecting north and southbound Estrada traffic. And as a reminder, the 375 northbound frontage road bridge between Alameda and North Loop will be closed tonight after 9 o'clock until early tomorrow morning. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the new Our American Stories podcast.
Check out the new Our American Stories podcast, the show where the American people are the star, telling inspiring stories of history, sports, business, faith, and love, and your stories too. Subscribe on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
From MSNBC Films comes the story of visionary French artist J.R.
It's not only about the art, it's about the people. Art can go places, beyond laws, beyond rules, beyond borders. It's something that we the people own.
From Oscar-winning producers Brian Grazer and Ron Howard, the world television premiere of Paper and Glue, Friday, December 10th at 10 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC and in select theaters now.
I love the holidays, but I don't love being roommates with my siblings again. That's why I skip all the screaming matches and stay at Red Roof, so I can truly celebrate and relax in my own comfortable, clean, affordable room. Pets stay free at Red Roof, so I can bring Fido and decompress after a long day of small talk with the family without breaking the bank. And this season, you can get up to 20% off. Book your own space at redroof.com.
What happens if we find the home we want, but somebody else just got to it quicker? What if we can't sell our existing home on time and we get stuck with 2 mortgages? I know. I've been there, and I have a solution. Listen carefully. You just need to call Brian Birds of eXp Realty. He'll guarantee your home will sell on time, or he's going to buy it himself. You'll get the home you want, and you don't have to worry about getting stuck with a burden of 2 mortgages. Hundreds of home sellers and renters trust Brian, and you can trust him as well. Connect personally with Brian today at 751-1500. That's 751-1500. Or go to brianbirds.com. That's Brian, BURDS.com.
Hey, El Paso, have you heard? Sell your home guarantee. Call Brian Birds. Go to brianbirds.com.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. A lot of stuff we're talking about here today. Try not to stay too much with the doom and gloom, even if there is reasons to be talked about here. Won't shy away from it, but there's a lot of other issues going on affecting us here, including, positive things, but also, let's just call them developments. Let's just put it that way, of things continuing to move on and adjust and grow, or even grow in, a concern. It's a growing concern in its own way. So, a lot of comments going over on the Facebook page. Leroy Chuck asking, I think, an important question. What's the DA for El Paso doing or not doing? Not sure if it comes down to the DA level at just this point. I mean, this has been my focus on it, or at least notice of it anyway, on the issues going on with crime, or at least the concern of level of crime over this past few months here. When it really starts getting down to cases, I mean, it's mainly in law enforcement's hands at this point, but don't think I'm discounting the prosecution angle of it either. Some of the signals that have been being sent so far, including a re-indictment of a different murder suspect for on capital punishment for that there. So that's kind of the only current that I can really think of offhand that would affect it. But I don't know. Maria Coleman painting a very dark picture, saying increased crime is a symptom of a collapse of our society. I mean, we've had crime in this city before. We've had increased crime in this city before. I mean, it was before my time, and I think before my lifetime, even more specifically. But we used to have, I mean, my grandmother had bars on her window because of the concern about it. I mean, heck, you look around some parts of town, even those that were built after that kind of petty crime wave had gone along or gone away as it was, it's almost an architectural feature in El Paso. So we've had a history of it, but not necessarily the violent crime level. I mean, it hasn't reached overriding concern levels. I mean, I've always had a low level concern about just, the possibilities of, a black swan event happening in your own life. But I mean, I'm not saying you can't see it from here, but I think that might be a little bit premature to go straight to the end of it there, particularly since it's kind of gives us a sense of, and there's nothing we can do about it, which I wholeheartedly reject. Just being aware and involved in your community can do wonders for a whole lot of things, and I'll keep definitely, absolutely putting that up there. And Michael Pat is elaborating on that situation that happened, again, I don't think too far from in front of our studio here, was that El Paso Police Department searching for suspect who shot at Uber Eats driver. Again, just a lot of pent up. I mean, some people have made allusions to other issues going on with border security, immigration, trafficking, particularly of narcotics and other heavy substances. There's a whole lot to get into on that here, but on this side of the border anyway, and immediately on it, there is a whole lot of building concern or excitement, depending on who you ask. Situations going on in New Mexico ahead of, preparations already well in place for next year, about a quarter away, what it really is, a quarter of the year, to the legalization, just over, but take out the holidays and the non-business that happens there. We're within striking range of business plans probably needing to be in place, and that's why, with the legalization and retail sale at the state level becoming right on the horizon there in New Mexico, already now some big investment going on. Some of the industry stuff I'm looking at, article from MJ Biz Daily, which I have looked at here, but really piqued my interest when the article title is Schway's, a Colorado-based company, if this is mine. Schway's borrows $95 million, acquires New Mexico cannabis operations. So this is a Colorado-based company that has made about $42 million of acquisitions in New Mexico, and giving them a lot of liquidity to potentially expand there. So not that this isn't terrifically surprising to me anyway, the idea that there are going to be bigger concerns than just kind of mom and pop coming in through all of it in the whole New Mexico situation as it's developing here. But it's interesting to now actually see it moving forward. So we'll see what happens based on their release. Schway says anticipates using the proceeds from the sale to fund the cash considerations of recently announced acquisitions and other growth and expansion initiatives. So New Mexico very clearly on the mind there. So seeing some of probably what's in place in Colorado coming to New Mexico before too long. And of course, as it bears pointing out at this point in time, we're going to have that on two sides of us here. You head west, you're going to run into it. You head north, you're going to run into it. So I think it's going to be fair to say that there's going to be a lot of, again, growing concerns of a variety of ways here. No pun intended, I promise. But at the same time, probably tourism, probably business booms coming from this. Whether that's good or not, certainly and fully up for debate, but it's kind of a wait and see moment for me here as well. Again, the way Leroy Chuck put it a little bit earlier is interesting. Pop it back up on screen here if I can find it here in a second. Legalize all narcotics, then just tax them into morality. That has always been, I guess I hadn't had it put to me so well, of a level of concern of it there, of being like, well, if they're not hurting anyone, but still kind of uncomfortable at the implications of, so that one's probably going to live rent-free in my head here for a minute. But one other thing that is absolutely affecting us, well, honestly, probably about the same time, to be perfectly honest, coming up here because of the primaries coming up in March, the whole redistricting process that we had that fun with here in Texas, and it's continuing on at the local level. Don't think even redistricting is over yet. We got to redraw the city council, county commissioners maps, etc., probably precincts as well. That fun is going on kind of in the background right now. One of the first draft maps got proposed last week. We'll see if it actually moves forward. I mean, it kind of once something gets established, it takes an increasing amount of effort to overturn it or get something else in place, as with most aspects of life here. But at the state level is one of the more impacting ones. I mean, it sets the destiny of the state legislature, state house, state senate, and the elected officials that are going to national office as well for the next decade here. So it's not at all insignificant, but more specifically now, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has announced a suit against Texas for, well, over that redistricting.
Texas has violated Section 2 by creating redistricting plans that deny or abridge the rights of Latino and Black voters to vote on account of their race, color, or membership in a language minority group.
So this kind of sounds like language it's similar to the Voting Rights Act, which of course did get gutted in before the last term of the last administration in the White House. I think it was, if I'm remembering my timeline correctly here. But continuing on to say that the way it was drawn is essentially unfair to minority or historically underrepresented groups.
Vote dilution occurs when an electoral practice minimizes or cancels out the voting strength of members of a racial group or language minority group.
So that's the basis that has now been filed there in federal court. The impact here is a little unclear at this point, because the major concern that would really be what is going to be happening with the upcoming elections. Wouldn't affect any, local ones that are happening, any runoffs that I frankly lost track of at this point. But for the primaries coming up, the last official announcement out of the Texas Secretary of State anyway was to expect to move forward with the primaries as planned. Now, the question would be if this throws a wrench into it, and probably might find out by the end of the year, is my rough, non-legal opinion expectation at this point, because what it will really hinge on is if there are any injunctions, any stays, any of those kind of pre-trial decisions made by the judges involved in this, and then, of course, the appeals that come from it, the whole kerfuffle that we've all gotten so very familiar and so very tired of when it comes to mask mandates within the state. I think the last status on that was, if I'm remembering correctly, is that they are back on being allowed to be banned, but I might have blinked and missed the latest update on that. In any case, I don't think it has having much impact here locally on that subject, but on the redistricting, it could end up delaying when primaries are actually going forth. That's kind of on the minor side of it, but possibly the most likely, but only time will tell on what actually fully is going to get put into place out of this. It's not surprising to me that it ended up happening, that this redistricting challenge happened here. I will say some of the language, Leroy Chuck bringing up another good point there, just right in front of my face here, that he's not seeing one person deny the ability to vote based on their race. That's, I was a little bit confused at first here, but listening to it again, speaking of basically about the voting groups being diluted down. So you might be reminiscing a little bit of some of the language that was coming out of the whole, I can't remember what it was. It was SB 8 there for a while, then it was SB 3, the Texas voting bill. And, depending on who you ask, the voting integrity or the voting restriction, that whole, when the Democrats decamped to D.C. Over the middle of the year, recall that bit of fun there. That was more discussion at this point, but this is about dilution of the voting blocks, essentially, which is not exactly... I have a lot of issues with redistricting, and the one point I agree with that was brought up by the Attorney General was about, electors should choose who they elect and not vice versa. But that's about the only point I agree with there. There are some states that I have been hearing from other friends who live across the country where they are then seeing, issues with laws. I think Arizona actually has one where there is not allowed for incumbency to be considered in the voting, in the redistricting process, which sounds good on paper, but ultimately just means that the process ended up being mostly behind closed doors, and there wasn't a whole lot of public input at all into it. And they said, no, this totally came out with this, and the process just became less transparent as a result. So I'm not exactly sold on the impact of that law here. So, I mean, it's a fair point you bring up, but not quite the one being made here, but you can see it from here. You know, we are overdue here for that break at the bottom of the hour right now. We are going to be taking that and getting to those calls in line as we do during this point in the show. So if you've been waiting on the line, thank you for doing so. But we'll go ahead and open those up and start taking those in the next segment. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio. There's a lot of stuff that we talk about that only ends up being something you can stay aware of and get involved when you can, but you can take control of your health right now by tuning into the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao every Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. He gets into the latest medical news, development, technology, and what you need to know to navigate it all and be a good, positive advocate for yourself and a smart, savvy consumer of medical services. It's something that we all consume at some level or another. Why not be an informed consumer of it? So he takes comments and questions ahead of his future shows. You can do those by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's RAO@medicalhackers.com. And of course, be sure to tune in this coming Saturday at noon, right after the El Paso History Radio Show, to the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. The city of El Paso will open a second city-run antibody infusion site this week. The new location will open in the Lower Valley tomorrow. It's located at 9341 Alameda. It'll offer infusion treatment from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The hospitals of Providence, Del Sol Medical Center, University Medical Center, El Paso Children's, Las Palmas, and Sun City ER also provide the monoclonal antibody infusion treatment to COVID patients who are at risk of severe illness. An El Paso man has been arrested in connection to the murder of a 49-year-old man at the El Paso airport. 50-year-old Walter Christman is charged with killing 49-year-old Juan Alzando, who was found dead in November near his car at the airport where he worked. Anzaldo was killed due to blunt force trauma to the head. According to police, Anzaldo was in a dating relationship with Christian's wife. Christian was found at his home on Friday and has been booked into the El Paso County Jail. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Checking El Paso traffic, got an accident to report. Frederick at Welch, east of Paisano and south of the 10. An accident in that area slowing traffic. Accident at Montwood, right at Estrada Drive, affecting north and southbound Estrada traffic. And as a reminder, the 375 northbound frontage road bridge between Alameda and North Loop will be closed tonight after 9 o'clock until early tomorrow morning. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Today's cold front kept us slightly cooler, with many locations staying in the upper 50s to lower 60s. Tonight, expect a few clouds across our sky, with temperatures ranging from the middle to upper 30s. Coming up tonight, I'm tracking our next weather maker set to arrive by the end of the work week, when we'll see the winds pick up, plus a little bit of rain. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Biscuit Sandwich. Just $1. Wendy's knows a better breakfast starts with a better biscuit. That's why you can get a hot and buttery Wendy's breakfast biscuit with bacon or sausage, fresh cracked egg, and cheese for just $1. Get your Wendy's Buck Biscuit Sandwich today. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
We've lost so many people to COVID. So many moms and dads, favorite uncles, older sisters, and best friends. But vaccines can help prevent serious illness and death from COVID in more than 9 out of 10 cases. So, now almost all COVID deaths are preventable, and so are the broken hearts they leave behind. We can do this. Find COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Be sure to tune in to Talk El Paso Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. for the biggest stories and latest news affecting the borderland, brought to you in part by Advocate Health Advisors. So join me, Andrew J. Polk, live weekdays at 4 for Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Check out the new Our American Stories podcast, the show where the American people are the star, telling inspiring stories of history, sports, business, faith, and love, and your stories too. Subscribe on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by the new Our American Stories podcast.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
All the stuff we talk about can leave you wondering, all right, what do I do with a lot of this information? How do I apply it to my own life? What do I do to make sure that I'm dealing with it appropriately? Something I can really just give you a peace of mind. We'll keep talking about the rest of it, but knowing where to go if you end up in those minor medical emergencies, I got an easy answer for you there, and that's Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. It's where I've gone when I found myself in those situations wondering, how do I continue about my day while dealing with this issue? What do I do? Where do I go? They're ready and available for you 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. over at 121 East Red Road. So it's been an easy trip for me, but I know people who come from all sides of town because it's right there off I-10 and Red Road, and they're available for you. 20 exam rooms, Dr. Carpenter and his team ready to take care of you from everything from those aches, breaks, sprains, bruises, sniffles, testing, vaccinations, all the way up to x-ray capabilities. It's their 15th anniversary being celebrated this season, which means they've been doing it for a long time and know how to help you. Also a VA-authorized urgent care provider, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so. On air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on these days, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso channel on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, at Andrew J. Polk, because that's the name of the way it works over there. But either of those titles, Andrew J. Polk, Talk El Paso, on any of those places, you'll find us because we want to be accessible. We want to be having the conversation to whoever wants to get involved in it, because showing up is half the battle, 90% of the battle these days here. Just look at our voting numbers. I promise I won't get on my soapbox about that again, though. That lives rent-free in my head. It's got a mansion in my head, rent-free. But, well, let's fix that. Which we haven't heard from some here in a while here. Augustine Pimentel chiming in, welcoming him back from being away from us crazy people. And reading the comments here. Again, that's the reason I call it the Thunderdome of comments and the Skeptic Squad, because you're not likely to find even as people espousing similar positions, chatting from the plane specifically here, letting us know there. So fly safe, I guess. I mean, with a lot of interesting comments that come in from all of this, and we take them all on Monday through Friday. But we do have those phone lines open now through the end of the show. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Thank you to all of our sponsors here. Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Monterey Asset Management. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, consider investing in real estate. Monterey manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See their new website, m1ep.com. That's m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call certified property manager Ray at 915-592-4549. That's 915-592-4549. Thank to our sponsors. Please support them as they support us in our mission to have live local talk radio back here in the borderland. So that's a minor aspect of what we're talking about here today. But let's get to those calls on the line here. Just some of the stuff we're mentioning, the redistricting suits now happening for Texas. Not surprised. Surprised they didn't happen sooner, frankly. The New Mexico further going to pot, I guess is the way I'll put it here. And just the overriding local, before I get to the calls, I actually found the situation that happened right nearby our station here, where a pedestrian who died in West El Paso was run over twice, not using a sidewalk here. So that's what I was skirting around, being here late one night, working here. 67th traffic fatality, or just fatality, compared to 65 at this time last year, as noted by our news partners over at KFOX 14. So I just... it just rides heavily on me lately here. But getting to those calls on the line here, we do have Raul in the Northeast right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Chiming in on the U.S. Justice Department suit of Texas over the redrawn voter maps, saying that the new plan violates U.S. voting laws by discriminating against minorities. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Republicans discriminating against minorities. Heck, they elected a racist birther and traitor for president. You know, that justice lawsuit notes that the vast majority of the Texas population growth over the last 10 years came from Black and Latino residents. And yet these new maps that the Republicans drew up do not give these communities new opportunities to choose their own representatives. And that lawsuit asked the courts to bar Texas from holding elections under the redrawn districts and instructs those lawmakers to devise new maps that comply with federal law. And to make matters worse, the Republican Supreme Court has declined to put limits on partisan gerrymandering. On another front, New York City Mayor de Blasio, as you probably read, is mandating vaccines for all private employers. That's going to go into effect on the 27th of this month to curb the spread of the Omicron variant. And New York City has already put vaccine mandates in place for city workers and for employees and customers at indoor dining, entertainment, and gyms. But in Texas, public schools, goofball Governor Greg Abbott and Costello prohibits local school boards and administrators from requiring all employees to be vaccinated or from mandating mask wearing. Totally crazy situation that this country finds itself in.
I mean, the New York situation, I mean, good luck to them here. I guess I get where they're coming from, but I'm not sure this is it by going overboard with it. Getting a little bit, a lot bit for me, too close to, I mean, with the way they're talking about apps and tracking of it, of individuals, like just what is your status, being able to, you know, have it electronically doc. It just gets a little bit too close to what I've heard exactly coming out of mainland China, or West Taiwan, as I prefer to say it. But let's just say I'm never planning to visit that country, wasn't before now, and probably will never be able to again for now. It's just a little bit too close to that for comfort for me there. But when it comes to the Texas elections and the voting drawing maps, I just got to say, I can't say I'm surprised that any of this happened, that A, the maps were redrawn in the favor of the party in power, that B, there was the lawsuit coming from it, the federal lawsuit in federal court coming from the administration that is of the opposite party at the same time here. All I really got to say is that A, no one didn't see this coming, and B, this is why elections have consequences. You may recall, coming into 2020, during the elections there, coming into this term of office, there was a lot of optimism, enthusiasm on the parts of Democrats in Texas that ended up being unfounded, including an announcement of running for the Speaker of the House by local state rep Joe Moody that ended up not even being possible to the lack of the party being in that chamber here. And I gotta say, if you ever were wondering what the point is of voting, I'm just gonna, do what the guy who does on TikTok, the Kelby Lame, I think his name is, just this right here. This whole situation is why voting matters. So, I mean, I really don't know how successful it's going to be. The major mechanism this has been enforced under previously was the Voting Rights Act, and with the enforcement aspect of that being gutted in previous administrations and previous terms of the Supreme Court, yeah. I mean, it's bluster at this moment. If the rubber ever hits the road, we'll certainly talk about it, but I have no firm expectations here. Now, whether it is unjust or unright is frankly a conversation a little bit above my head here. We didn't see too much impacts here in El Paso, mostly just because we lost population here. But if you go across the country, you're going to see gerrymandering. I think there's a higher, if you're really concerned about it, I think there's a higher level solution being needed there. All right, getting to a couple more calls on the line here. We do have Tony on the west side right now. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Andrew, I sure do appreciate your show and everything, but I've got to be honest with you. The more I think about the topics and listening and so forth and tuning in, I think we're missing the boat. It seems to me, and I hope callers can verify me or show me wrong, I think we should be talking about local issues a lot more than we do. For example, the Max Grossman's got a lot of information about what the city's doing and their spending and everything on his Facebook and Twitter. And if we knew, for example, went over the meeting agenda for every Tuesday and what our reps are up to and what our mayor is up to as far as spending, what the county judges are up to as far as spending. And I think we really would serve the community better to really be on top of what they're doing at downtown and what they plan to do in the next few months and so forth. And then we can probably take some action and try to save some money. Because Peter Schwarzwein, for example, the guy that represents me, he might be a fine person in person, a fine person. I don't want to attack his person, but politically, the guy is a waste. He's dangerous. He's bad for El Paso. I mean, he's a spendthrift. He did that trolley thing, and people who grow up without ever suffering. His dad was a successful doctor, and I don't think he's ever been hungry a day in his life. And he doesn't know how the average El Pasoan has to struggle, work every day to put food on the table with kids and everything. These people don't really represent us. They don't understand us, and they think we want these amusement parks and trolleys and arenas and so forth. We want them to save us money. We want them to do what they do for themselves. They enrich themselves. They always walk out of office richer than when they walked in. That's how you know they're traitors. That's how you know they're no good for us. That's how you know they're not doing their job and they're actually betraying us. Same thing with Oscar Leeser. Every time his business is always doing well, but does he do well for our pocketbooks? No. These people are dangerous. They're dangerous to us financially and probably even health-wise if you draw the line to its logical conclusion. So I hope we can focus more on the city's agenda and what they're up to so we can do something about it. Thanks for listening to me, Andrew. Thank you.
No, sure thing. I take it as a fair point. I've often said I'll take the praise and the criticism in equal measure here because, there's a certain amount of, what you all want to hear that goes into this show, and I do try to guide it such a way, so I will take it as a fair point there. And, there's a lot of advocates that go on to it. Honestly, trying to get people to go to city council meetings and get involved with it. I would hope more people would, but it has been a little bit pulling teeth even before we had this program going here. But again, fair point, and I will certainly deservedly consider it because if people are very much willing to and get involved with it, even if the Thunderdome is already responding over here, we'll get into it. I am more than happy to. So thank you for the point on that call here. Overdue for a break here right now. Coming back from the break, we'll get into more of those points and calls and lines for those pound 250 calls as well. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690, KTSM. Another tool in your arsenal of tracking your health and your wellness, and something that is available back in town again, is that of thermography. Specifically, company Therapeutics and Thermography Inc. is once again offering it. They're inside Biometrics, which is the big blue building at 935 Sunland Park Drive, which is just west of I-10 and Sunland Park. They're continuing to offer their $50 off breast thermogram benefit through the end of the year. So thermography, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, is another tool that is out there, diagnostic tool to help you understand very important parts of your health, detecting things before they may be registerable on other forms of, detection. Very minimally invasive as well. It's a quick and painless process. I've seen it for myself and how it works. And if you want to see it, again, claim your $50 benefits and be able to, again, have that control and advocacy for your own health, give them a call at 915-401-4053. That's 915-401-4053. Or log on to elpasothermography.com. That's El Paso, THERMOGRAPHY.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking the El Paso freeways this hour, not looking too bad. I-10 westbound from Wrestler all the way past McClintock. It is extra slow and go right now. We're getting reports of an accident by Count Hawkins. Reports of an accident with fire headed to that scene. Frederick and Welch, that traffic accident from earlier is starting to clear up. That's east of Paisano and south of the 10. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. Date night. You check your text, your hair, your smile. But wait, did you check your breath? It's SmartMouth, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day. Find SmartMouth in the mouthwash aisle at Dollar General or get 20% off at smartmouth.com/radio.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Fiat. I love the holidays. It's a time to be thankful for life and all its blessings. I'm thankful for you, our customers, and your families. As a gesture of gratitude, we're offering 0%, zero down on select new vehicles and no payments till February 2022.
The Big Finish sales event starts now at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. For a limited time, get 0 APR for 84 months, 0 down, and make no payments till until February 2022. Upside down in your trade? We want it, even if you owe up to $10,000 more than your car is worth. Plus, save thousands at the all-new Sun Apart Dodge Certified Pre-Owned Super Center on every vehicle in stock, with more arriving daily. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sun Apart Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, or buy the car. It's fun at I-10 and Sun Apart Drive or online at sunapart.dodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso Strong. Includes factory legal dealer discount plus TKL. 0 APRs, 1190 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit.
From Oscar-winning producers Brian Grazer and Ron Howard, MSNBC Films presents the story of visionary French artist J.R. Paper and Glue. Friday, December 10th at 10 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC and in select theaters now.
There's no place like home for the holidays, except when you're stuck sleeping on the pull-out couch in the basement. This year, I'm resting my head at Red Roof in my own comfortable, affordable, and clean space. You know, you can save up to 20% this holiday season at Red Roof locations. Plus, pets stay free at Red Roof, so Fluffy can come along for the holiday fun. This holiday season, book your own space at redroof.com and save up to 20%.
New to Curiosity Stream. They're more deaf and blind and take down prey 9 times their size. Social bonds empower a predatory force in wolves' power of the pack. And he's 80 years old and dives 20 fathoms on a single breath. One of the last sea hunters living off his catch. This time ravaged freediver survives in a modern world. In Jago, a life underwater. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are just $20. That's just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Hey, it's Buck Sexton. If you enjoy listening to the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, you better check out the Buck Sexton podcast. It's out every morning. A quick rundown of all the news of the day. Please subscribe to the Buck Sexton podcast on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Monterey Asset Management, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Your host, Andrew J. Polk. A bunch of stuff we're talking about here today. A bunch of ways you can interact with the show, including the various social pages. We've got a lot of people chiming in right now. Augustine Pimentel, Ed Clore, Barbara Carrasco, John Brazelton, Michael Perez. Yeah, a whole lot. Calvin Williams a little bit earlier. A whole lot of people, Leroy, Chuck. It's been a very busy day out here, so we'll keep talking about these issues every Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. Question coming up right now about potential issues with future manufacturer of cars having remote kill switches in them, but a fair point also being made that that's been the trend already within the industry, most likely than not, because you don't think your self-parking or self-driving or autopilot or whatever the car has these days don't have something like that at least being considered into it. That's why I am probably, and a decent point being made here by Calvin Williams, don't make a Tesla payment, it will repo itself. I know it's mostly a joke here right now, but I'm not going to be surprised if it happens before too long. And more specifically, I do think that I'm going to have just a whole lot of personal issues once the full self-driving car revolution happens. And this might sound like me, old man on his porch shaking my fist at modernity, but it's almost a bridge too far for me, which is why I do concern myself with these things, but we'll see. Anyway, getting to more calls on the line here right now through the end of the show, getting in what we can. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Jerome in Northeast right now. Jerome, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate the minutes there, Andrew J. Got a few things, and then I'll turn the mic back over to you. Number one, I think map drawing should be independent. We should take political fingers off of it. And let some demographers do that kind of work. That's one. Two, Texas should have never been taken off of the leash. We knew if you unleashed that dog, they were going to do pretty much what we are seeing that they're doing in terms of the way this thing is gerrymandered. We have totally discounted the distribution of the demographics here. And it shows a clear bias. And it's a shame, but it is what it is. Okay. I want to go back to a point you and I talked about before with some face-to-face to host an opportunity for Talk El Paso to sit down maybe across a long table at a restaurant and meet some of these personalities. And it might play right into what Tony was talking about when he was saying maybe we could pinpoint some local issues to get after. But I want to remind him and everybody else, we are the ones that set the menu. You deal with the topics that we bring up. You may introduce one or two here and there, but by and large, you set the table. We set the menu. Let me say this too, and then I've got two more and I'm gone. Raul has authored a document at a presentation called Occupy Congress. It is a comprehensive piece of work. It is intellectually well put together, super educational, and I think a number of people would benefit from being able to see that. And I'm sure that in some capacity he would make it available to those who express the interest, because we have a lot of civic ignorance, not just in this community but in this country.
Oh yeah,
and the indifference is sickening. It's a self-inflicted wound. Last point: our policymakers make policy they never have to live with, that they don't live with, so they don't live with the negative consequences of decisions that they make. And that's where we get some of the piss poor decisions at the top. Microphone's back to you. I'm going to tune in. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate that. I mean, I would love to see, it might even have to be a constitutional amendment, but that Congress shall not make any law that they are not immediately and irrevocably subject to. Maybe not irrevocably. I just like the way that sounds. But yes, particularly when it comes to things like healthcare, when it comes to investment. I mean, insider trading basically doesn't apply to a Congress, which is, that's just a whole bad kettle of fish here. So there's a lot to go there, but I don't think it would be a simple process to get into, particularly since anyone in the position to put that into place would probably not want to happen to themselves in that position. But I digress. Got time for one more quick one on the line here. We do have Andrew on the west side right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, real quick. This rise in crime in El Paso, I feel it's only going to get worse once we see the legalization of marijuana recreational marijuana in New Mexico come into play. And also, I believe it's a mental issue, not only medically speaking, but the psyche that's involved, this defund the police culture. In other words, it's penetrated. Hey, everybody else is doing it. Why can't we do it? And just wanted to give kudos to people out there like Barbara. I think she should run for Congress, and I think she should be Speaker of the House. And anyway, you have a good evening, and thank you for everything.
Oh, thank you very much. Do appreciate it. We'll have to leave it there for today because we're out of the time for this show. I actually had a call from Barbara we weren't able to quite get to, so we'll get to those here tomorrow as we do it again, Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Also, people involved with the show, including 5915 Food Fest. Find them on Facebook at 5915 Food Fest. At facebook.com/5915 Food Fest. Leaving it there for today. Back tomorrow. More Talk El Paso. Stay safe, everyone. Now for your Medicare Moment with Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. Tell me a little bit more about Advocate Health Advisors.
So Advocate Health Advisors is veteran-owned and operated with over 16 years experience in our Medicare field. What we do is we assist Medicare-eligible veterans and their spouses with the understanding and coordination of their benefits through Medicare with their military benefits. This helps with potentially adding extra benefits to their already robust military benefits, most of the time at no additional cost.
And for more info, you can call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking the El Paso freeways, looking pretty good right now, although Joe Battle 375 northbound at Montwood looking really slow. It's stacked up there definitely with a backup. Got reports of an accident I-10 southbound at Paisano, and there's some slowing I-10 westbound from Wrestler all the way up to McCormick. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com.
Okay, let's settle down. Since today is career day, stand up and tell the class what you want to be when you grow up.
I want to be a pilot, soccer player, fireman, a judge.
Kids dream big. As a parent, you can protect those dreams by keeping your kids healthy well into adulthood. If your son or daughter is 11 or 12 years old, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help protect them from 6 types of HPV cancers later in life. To learn more, visit cancer.org/dreambig.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Former Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole will lie in state in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda on Thursday. Lisa Taylor has more.
Congressional leaders announced the solemn event in a statement.
Throughout his life, Bob Dole redefined and elevated what it has meant to be a public servant.
Opening the Senate, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praised Dole's character and called him a great statesman. Schumer noted that Dole sparred with Democrats but was often willing to forge bipartisan compromises. The veteran Kansas lawmaker was the Republican presidential nominee in 1996, but was defeated by President Bill Clinton. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called Dole an extraordinary patriot and noted his heroic service in World War II. Republican Dole died Sunday at the age of 98.
Break out those rally towels. Stocks rose today as investors were in a buying mood and sent names associated with economic recovery well into the green. They include major cruise lines and airlines. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones rose 647 points to 35,227. The S&P 500 added 53 to 4592. The Nasdaq finished with a gain of 140 points to 15,225. The Justice Department is suing Texas over alleged Voting Rights Act violations. Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta said this isn't the first time Texas has acted to deliberately weaken Black and Latino votes. Gupta said the state's redistricting plan hinders Blacks and Latinos from electing representatives of their choosing, which is illegal. President Biden believes prescription drugs are outrageously expensive.
What may surprise you is we pay about 2 to 3 times what other countries pay for the same drug.
Speaking at the White House, Biden said the U.S. has the highest prescription drug prices of any developed nation in the world. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The Oxford School District is requesting a third-party investigation into Tuesday's deadly shooting.
4 students were killed and 7 others injured Tuesday, and the Oxford Community School Superintendent Tim Thorne wrote a letter to Wildcat Nation on Saturday saying a third-party investigation is needed because our community and our families deserve a full, transparent accounting of what occurred. The letter stated many of our parents have understandably been asking for the school's version of events leading up to the shooting. It's critically important to the victims, our staff, and our entire community that a full and transparent accounting be made, Thorne's letter said. To that end, I've asked for a third-party investigation to be conducted so we leave no stone unturned, including any and all interaction the student had with staff and students. I'm Mike Bauer.
Travis Scott apparently wants at least one civil lawsuit over a deadly Southeast Texas music festival dismissed. TMZ reports the Houston rapper's attorneys recently asked a judge to toss out the suit filed by someone who claimed to be in the Astro World crowd last month. 10 people died and dozens were hurt when fans pushed toward the Energy Park stage while Scott was performing. Multiple suits have been filed over the deaths. Previews are happening for MJ the Musical on Broadway. Lisa G has that story.
The show is inspired by the life and music of the late Michael Jackson. Newcomer Miles Frost will be making his Broadway debut as the King of Pop. Meantime, Mrs. Doubtfire returned to the Broadway stage Sunday night after the Broadway shut down. In addition, the popular musical Wicked resumes performances on Tuesday after it was shut down over the weekend due to positive COVID tests.
Grimes is appearing to shade her ex, Elon Musk, in her new song, Player of Games. The 33-year-old singer split from the billionaire of SpaceX and Tesla fame in September. Grimes sings about being in love with the greatest gamer, which many think is a reference to her former boyfriend. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
If you love stories, listen to Red Pilled America, where this week we answer the question, why are dogs considered man's best friend? By telling the story of our near-death experience with a ferocious canine. Listen to Red Pilled America on the iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
Hey parents, here's some good news for America's future. Kids ages 5 to 11 are now eligible for a COVID vaccine. That means all those future CEOs and artists, world-class chefs and sports stars, the engineers and the innovators are eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. And it's specifically formulated just for them. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Ho, 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 it's Santa! The elves are busy in the workshop while I broadcast live from my special studio on iHeartRadio. It's my very own radio station, North Pole Radio. It's all your favorite Christmas songs and me. You You can listen to me anywhere on the free iHeartRadio app, and it's really easy to play me on that smart speaker I gave you last year. Just ask Alexa to play North Pole Radio on iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
Merry Christmas.
I am a veteran. I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet.
DAV helps veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I'm a veteran. When I got out, I felt like nowhere was safe.
So veterans can reach victories, great and small.
My victory was finding the help I needed. Thanks to DAV, now I feel like I'm human again.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. A lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
That's just one adoption story that started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.